if you reply within 5 minutes of receiving a reply, the chances of you actually getting to the next step of that sales cycle is actually 80% higher.
If somebody has asked a question, don't use a generic message.
What were some of the mistakes you made when you first started doing cold outreach?
Most of the mistakes come around with your...
Hello everyone and welcome to SalesRobot Customer of the Week, a new show where we dive deep into the habits of the top 1% SalesRobot users. We go deep into their process with hot tips around messaging, personalization, and targeting so that you can take away some tips to implement in your cold outreach starting tomorrow. Today on the show, we have Greg Hurwitz. Welcome to the show, Greg.
Thanks, Saurav. Good to be here.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. What does your business do and how do you make money?
So I work for a company called Flint Catalyst, and that is a B2B marketing company as part of Flint Studio. We are based in South Africa. And Flint Catalyst, we focus on running campaigns for B2B organizations, helping B2B organizations understand their target audience, helping B2B organizations understand their selling cycles, and bringing leads into their business and better conversions with the leads.
Awesome. So with that, let's get into the campaign that got you on the show. So this campaign, I can see you've been running on your own account. This is called Technical Account Manager. I will not bury the lead. Let's just show the results first, and then let's get into what actually got you there. You've got a phenomenal 28% acceptance rate, which is pretty good. And the reply rate is pretty high, 47%. So yeah, first of all, great job on the campaign. Do you remember what this campaign was about?
So this is an interesting campaign, and it's a bit of a pivot that we've run using SalesRobot for, is actually recruitment.
Oh, okay.
So within our organization, we're looking for a technical account manager for a software product, and we felt that the best way to find a very specific person who's got very specific talents is to use SalesRobot. So what we did is we initially used LinkedIn LinkedIn Sales Navigator to identify the target audience of candidates.
Okay.
And we then created a campaign in SalesRobot to reach out to candidates and ask them if they might be interested in applying. And we had an application link there as well.
Interesting. So that's a pretty interesting use case of recruitment. I would say that's niche because that's why the name is Sales Robot as opposed to Recruitment Robot. But you've seen a lot of people do that to a lot of success, because if you identify the right candidate and you have a compelling, job offer, there's no reason they wouldn't reply to you or apply, right?
Exactly. So I'll tell you where it came from is that in South Africa, obviously, we have quite a high unemployment rate. So you find that if you post a job on a jobs board, you get a lot of people trying their luck that are not relevant for the role whatsoever. So you can have a couple hundred applications in a day, which is very time consuming to go through them. So our approach here was to identify the candidates first, and we find that better candidates are in a job. They're not applying for a job actively. But there were very specific people that we wanted to target for this role. They needed to have worked in software and cybersecurity. So we were able to identify them using Sales Navigator, reach out to them using SalesRobot, and ask them if they'd like to apply. In which case, we reduce the number of people applying for the role, but there are all relevant people that are applying, which gives us a much better chance of success and a lot of faster recruitment cycle.
Yeah, exactly. And you just need one, right? Like you're hiring for one role, and volume doesn't play a role. We face the same problem here in India as well, because it's a large country. So if you actually put in a job board, you'll get like thousands of applications in no time. Like, it's a big country. People just trying their luck. So it's very important to reach out to the right people, the qualified people at the right companies, and then have a conversation. So with that, let's get into the actual messaging. Do you remember the kind of messaging you used?
So I think it was very light in terms of the messaging. We just wanted to create a good impression of the company, and then offer them the opportunity to look on the job board for the job description.
Right. So let's look at the actual message. So you said something like, "Thanks for connecting with a blank connection request. Any reason you use the blank connection request?
Yes, we just I think at the moment it's difficult in terms of LinkedIn having limits on that if you don't have Sales Navigator. So this profile does not have Sales Navigator on that we're using. So I didn't want it to get locked up.
Sure, makes sense. Now let's get into this message. So you're talking about, obviously saying you're thanking them for connecting. Yeah, I like this line because you're actually making it seem like you actually just writing it. It's not an automated tool, automated
Exactly.
message. I was searching profiles with experience. Perfect. And then you're introducing the company, right? The portfolio introduces.
Correct.
Yeah. So this is actually a very good introduction. And then why this job is important. And then a little bit of interest, right? And then you're giving them the link and they can just go and look at the link and see if it's actually a great fit for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. So, I mean, for our viewers, this is a very good learning because this is a very good copywriting framework, right? You're making an intro, which is showing that this is not an automated message, which is the hardest part to do with SalesRobot. Then you obviously are introducing the company and then introducing the role and then asking in a soft CTA. So you're not telling them to get on a call and show them the job. All you're doing is the call to action is great. You're saying, is this something that might interest you? Which is obviously a great call to action, and they can come here and decide for themselves if that is something they want.
Yeah. I find in general when using sales robots, if you're too pushy and you explain way too much within your messaging, you lose attention, you lose the interest of the target audience. So the challenge for us is always is how can we reduce the size of each message?
Yes, absolutely. And it's not just in sales robot, I would say in life, right? If you just try to, even when, let's say, you're a networking event and you're just, there are always there's some kind of people, they just keep talking about themselves, like, we do this, we do that. And then they lose attention very quickly, right? Because they're not interested in learning about you, or they're not, succinct enough in that sense, right? In their messaging. So,
Correct.
yeah, it's just a way to do business. Okay. So let's say they don't reply and then you wait 4 days and then you send this. Okay. Just talk to me about this one. Why did you decide to send this after 4 days?
So we always want to have some sort of a follow-up. Like I said, if we reduce the size of the message, then people often need a reminder. They get busy, particularly if it's searching for a job. But I feel like when it comes to job search, 2 messages is enough. Maybe sometimes 3. I think if they haven't replied at that point, they're obviously not interested in the job or they're not interested in looking for a new job at all. So we cut it off then. It was just a quick reminder. Have you managed to apply? Because we are on a time limit in terms of getting some people into the organization, getting to the next stage of interviewing.
Right. No, I like this message because it's casual and then it's basically a very small summary of the last message, right? So rather than saying something like, did you get a chance to look at my last message, which is what a lot of people write, I like this one more because you're just basically summarizing what you sent in the last message in 2 lines. So they actually don't have to look at the last message if they just missed it, right? They can just figure out what you sent me, like these 2 lines. So I like this message.
Yeah, but
Perfect.
in the end of the day, there's a call to action, and we just want them to click on the link. And if they click on the link and they don't like the job, that's okay. But that's the behavior that we're looking for.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Okay, so with respect to the results, do you remember if you got a few good applications? What were the results?
So I did check after 3 days. We had 7 applications, and we wanted to interview. So we were still will look at more applications, but so far we're very happy because we already know before the campaign has started that those are applicants that would like to interview.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. I love this use case because it's a very clear use case of SalesRobot. Awesome. So with that, I'll go to my next question. What were some of the mistakes you made when you first started doing cold outreach?
So I think most of the mistakes come around with your content and your copy. Being too long, speaking too much, trying to be too salesy, using language that makes it seem automated. I also think that it's important to have manual intervention. So if somebody does reply, you should reply yourself from
Hmm.
the application that you're using the system for. If somebody has asked a question, don't use a generic message. They'll know that there's something strange about that. So there is a need for human intervention in the system,
Hmm.
and shouldn't get lazy with that. And that's some of the mistakes we made early on.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love the last point because we've done some data analysis, and what we've figured out is if you reply within 5 minutes of receiving a reply, the chances of you actually getting to the next step of that sales cycle is actually 80% higher, right? Because they're right there, they've just replied to you. You get there, you get in a back and forth conversation, and then that really leads to positive outcomes. So we suggest, as soon as you get a message, try to reply within 5 minutes because it's like somebody's coming to your shop, right? And they actually want to, have a conversation as opposed to you replying like a few hours later, and then it's like it becomes very slow, and then the outcome is mostly negative. So it's yeah, that's a good learning. Okay, on to my final question then. What are some of the things you're excited about trying to improve your cold outreach process?
So we run this process for clients in the marketing space as well. So it's not only recruitment, and I have seen some of the new features. I haven't tried them out yet. The lookalike audiences, um, using AI voice, that sort of thing. I think that's really cutting edge. I've seen some of your videos. I think that it's quite important to watch them to understand what new features are available, and I'm looking forward to trying them out.
Absolutely. No, AI is getting very good. So it surprises me every day. So it's something that I think you will, once you start trying, you'll see, okay, wow, I didn't think this would be possible in my lifetime. And it is. So it is a very unique time to be alive. Awesome, Greg. So thank you for making the time. Those are all the questions I had for you. And we wish you all the best for all future campaigns.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the good work.
All right. Thank you. Take care, Greg. Bye.
Thanks, Sarah. Bye. Bye.